Welcome to the Backyard at Reel. I'm Forman, and today we're going to go over performance kite surf boards and the different construction options that you have available. The four boards we're going to be looking at are the Nash Global, the Liquid Force all-around kite surf board, and then we also have a couple of new and exotic custom boards that we just brought in. One is the Roberts Ill model, and that's made in Hydroflex Supercharger XXX construction. And then we have a Rawson Boombox in iFoam EVF construction. What's happened over the past year out on the water is that a lot of people are beginning to ride strapless, and also a lot of people are just dedicated strapless riders. And we're seeing basically a whole new class of strapless design and construction evolve, and that's why you're going to see more and more boards on the rack like this Roberts, like this Rawson, that have no inserts at all and are really built in a much different way than a lot of the standard kite surf boards that you're going to be seeing on the racks as well. If you take a look at the Nash and the Liquid Force board, the Liquid Force 510 and the Nash Global, these boards, they have a very light foam core, and then they have a high density foam shell around the entire board, and they're built with a windsurf style construction, something that's very, very durable. And then they're also heavily glassed and constructed so that for riding the wave, and then also for the people that jump the boards, that they have a decent amount of durability for jumping. And because the boards have foot straps, people do jump them, and a lot of people just get off on jumping them as high as they can. And the problem with that is that when you land flat, then you have a lot of stress on the board, and that's why you're going to see these boards have a much, much more solid build, again, for those accidental flat landings. If you want to be able to do both, if you want to be able to ride the wave and jump, then you're going to have to go for this type of construction. It does add a little bit of weight. You're going to notice that boards of this style are going to be heavier, and it also takes away from the flex of the board. So when you ride the board on the wave, it's not going to be as lively and the ability to load up your turns and spring out of the turns. But it does allow you to ride a wave. It does allow you to jump and have a little bit more control of your board. Looking at some of the dedicated strapless boards, this is new ground, and you're actually, this year you're only going to see it at Reel. You'll probably start seeing it around the country next year more available, but this year you're only going to see boards like this at Reel. What's happening with this type of board is that you have people now that are riding strapless full time, and literally the level is to the point now where you're watching the videos and you can't even understand what these people are doing. Some of the stuff is so tech, but the bottom line is that they don't have foot straps, they're not launching and landing flat jumps, and they don't need that extra weight in the board. And they also want to have a board from a surfer's perspective that's more reactive on the wave, that actually bends and unloads and springs out of turns and feels alive on the wave. Until you've ridden one of these boards, and basically you would never appreciate that feel if you've never had it. But once you ride that style of board and then go back to your old board, that's when you really appreciate the differences. A lot of people put strapless riding kind of up on a shelf with expert only or pro level riders only, but strapless riding only takes one session to figure out. For a lot of people that don't know the origin of strapless, I mean, the origin of strapless is the origin of the beginning of the sport. When we started kiteboarding in 1998, none of the boards had foot straps. It was all strapless riding. So even on a two-line kite, beginner with no instruction at all, people were strapless riding. But now people tend to think it's pro only, but it basically takes one session to do. You just launch up, get up onto the board and ride, and just go underpowered the first time and figure it out. You're definitely going to take some falls in the first few runs, but it's not a hard type of riding to figure out, and it is actually quite a bit of fun. But when you're looking at the construction on both of these boards, again, you're not going to see inserts in the boards. You are going to have a beefed up glass schedule compared to what you would on a standard surfboard. And just to give you the differences, like a Hydroflex Supercharger construction is available as a standard surfboard, but in the XXX build, this board has 2 layers of 6-ounce fiberglass on the deck and 1 layer of 6-ounce fiberglass on the bottom, where in the standard surfboard construction, it would be 2 layers of 4 on the deck and 1 layer of 4 on the bottom. So it's beefed up quite a bit on the deck and on the bottom of the board, and that's to allow the board to last quite a bit longer. for all the abuse that kite surfing gives the board. Kite surfing on a board compared to surfing it, you're just leveraging your heels into the board all the time. If you look at how much a surfer is actually up and riding a surfboard compared to paddling it, it's not that much. But as soon as you kite off the beach on a kite surfboard, you're just putting a lot of pressure on your heels. So the XXX construction is beefed up for that. And then as well, the Rawson EVF iPhone boom box is also built up for that as well. The iPhone blanks, they're higher density foam. They're 2.5 pound density foam. So even the blank, if you just had a raw blank and you dropped a rock on it, it would be more durable against a ding from the rock than a standard blank would, just because it's a much higher density foam. Then it's wrapped with fiberglass and then vacuum bag. Both of these boards are vacuum bagged to get a nice tight seal to the with the glass to the board. Again, no foot straps, a much more responsive, alive feel, and much lighter. On all the strapless boards, you are going to, even with that beefed up construction, you will see heel dents. And again, this is going to be a year of transition for people, because a lot of people see any kind of denting in a board and they absolutely freak out. They almost feel like the board, you know, like it's a ding or a break or the board's warranted. Heel dents, you're going to hear it here for the very first time. Heel dents are good. If you look at any pro surfer's board, what they do the very first time they surf it is they go out and surf it as hard as they possibly can to get those dents in the board, and that's like their lock on the board. And it gives you leverage on the board, and then also, like for a quick reference, like when you slide your feet right into those dents, it gives your feet a place to sit in the board. It's natural for these boards to dent. Basically, it'll dent the most the first few sessions, and then it basically, as that foam compacts under where your heels are, it dents a little bit less each time, to where then they just max out, and then you have a dent where your heel is, and then it goes over the center line of the board, and then you have a dent where you're pressing really hard on the ball of your foot and your toes. Heel dents are good because when you're turning, it gives you more leverage off of the board. And then also, if you're strapless airing, it just gives a lot more grip on the board and allows your foot to sit down in the deck of the board, giving you a lot more control on your board. So you see any pro board, pro surfer or pro kite surfer, you're going to see heel dents on the board. It just gives you a lot more control and a lot more locked in feel without using foot straps.